Hey guys, Panic here. I hope you guys are doing fine today. And you might notice a little difference in my voice. Last time, or when I first read those scary stories, I was pretty sick. And I've gotten better since. So you might notice a difference in my voice as I'm narrating today. Alright, that's all I wanted to mention. And on to the scary stories. All stories submitted by Deion Hayz. Scary story number 1, Skinwalker story. I'm half Navajo and half Mexican. For 23 years of my life, I lived on the Navajo reservation in a small town called Shiprock, New Mexico. My Native American side of the family always warned me to be careful at night, especially my grandparents. They would always tell me scary stories of these shape-shifting witches who would curse you or even kill you. They called them skinwalkers because they would take the skin of dead animals to change into them. I never really believed in them though. I'm only half Navajo and light-skinned. I was never treated the same by most people here, so I drifted away from the culture and thought it wasn't for me. The story takes place in the summertime. This happened when I was in high school. I would have been like 15 or 17 then. I used to hang out with a group of guys who liked to do a lot of delinquent type stuff. You know, like smoking cigarettes and staying up late at night playing video games at somebody's place. At 3 a.m., if we felt like it, we would go to Paradise. Paradise was basically a giant metal pipe that would carry irrigation water to all of the farms. However, this was the spot for kids to drink or get high at. This place did have a scary history of kids and adults who died by drowning, but I always thought these were just urban legends. We as boys would dare one another to cross this pipe, sort of like an initiation, to see how far we could go. We usually could go all the way across. Now, keep this in mind. The pipe goes well over 3 stories high. It's also wide. I'd say it's as wide as an average car. We would walk this thing for kicks in a group of 9. So, one night, me and my group of friends were driving around bored at 2 a.m., wanting to scare one another. The guys who were with me were Michael, Cordy, Tommy, and Theryl. I said to them, let's go to Paradise and walk the pipe, as most of these friends I was hanging out with had never walked across this pipe. They agreed, all pumped up on energy drinks, and we drove to it. When we got there, it was pretty quiet. The sky was dark, and it was cold. Theryl was the driver because he was the one with the car. He said he didn't want to go and told us that his parents were traditional and he wanted to just chill in the car. We ended up respecting his decision. He probably just wanted to text some chick, I'm sure. So I told him that it's fine and to keep the car running unlocked in case we saw something scary. Me and the other guys ended up going without him. Later, as we finally arrived at the pipe, a few of the guys were scared and they made me take the lead. As we walked 1/4 of the way on the pipe, we heard talking and laughing. Then I noticed what could have been either a white or light grayish bat that was bigger than my head. It dived for all of us a few times, but we dodged it. Suddenly, Tommy slipped because of his Converse, and he almost fell off the pipe. I reached out to him, grabbing his right arm. Michael grabbed the collar of my shirt. Then Cordy grabbed onto Michael. Altogether, we got back onto the pipe. We were all shaken up from that. Tommy had almost fallen into the dark depths below. By now, the bat was gone. We were all freaking out, but the guys wanted to continue to walk across the pipe. We laughed about it as guys usually do. We then passed the half point of the pipe, with no problems. But as soon as we got 3/4 of the way, Michael saw something. You see, at the end of the pipe there is a hill. And behind that hill lies a very bright light. The hill is lit up because of a church. We were able to see a silhouette of a dog standing with pointy ears on that hill. At this point, Michael decided to be a tough guy and yell at the thing saying, I'm not scared of you, you effing skinwalker, and tossed a few rocks he had in his pocket. One rock hit the pipe and the other fell into the bushes below. That shadowed silhouette of a dog stood right up on 2 legs like a person. We all freaked out. Our jaws dropped. Then Cordy said, look, there's another one on the left. Tommy then said, there's another one on the right. There were now 3 silhouettes of pointy dog-eared creatures on that hill. I told them to back up so we can get back to the car. Then the dog creatures that were on the left and on the right of us started to move down, heading towards us. The one in the middle looked like it was standing guard on that hill. We were all frantically walking across, trying to get off this pipe, but we were only 3/4 of the way. After a while, we slowed down. As we slowed down, we noticed that it was quiet for a few minutes. And then we heard a girl crying that sounded like she was hurt, like she was in so much pain. We were all overcome with the strange feeling of wanting to help. Michael then suggested that we help this girl, who was crying. The bad thing was, I almost agreed to it. But something inside of me was like, no, this is wrong. Something isn't right. So I yelled at him and everybody else saying, are you guys stupid? Did you guys not see those things on the hill? It's a trap. If that girl really is hurt, we all can come back when the sun is up in 2 more hours and check. All of the guys freaked out and mentioned that they couldn't believe what came over them. They also said that they almost forgot what they had seen. Halfway on the pipe, we started to hear a powwow drum being played. That's when we started running. 1/3 of the way, Corey stopped us because he could hear a pack of coyotes snarling, growling, and yelping. It's pitch black below us, and we couldn't see where the noises were exactly coming from. We only knew that they were under us. After getting off the pipe, we ran full speed towards the car and jumped inside. We told Theral to haul ass out of that place. He did without questioning. Soon, we made it to the paved highway, then to a well-lit gas station. That's when we felt safe enough to explain everything to Theral about what had happened when we were out there. Scary story number 2, the blue flaming orb. I remember when I was around 8 years old. I sometimes slept in my parents' room. Their room was at the very end of the trailer. One night, it was 2 or 3 in the morning. I was thirsty, so I got up and walked down the dark hallway. I remember feeling the cold floor underneath my feet, and I wiped the dried crusties from my eyes. This hallway at night always creeped me out. It didn't have any light that you could turn on, only a skylight. Eventually, I started to walk past the bathroom, but the bathroom wasn't fully set up just yet. So it was basically a storage room, and we didn't have any running water. Out of nowhere, some weird light zipped past me on my right. That freaked me out. I watched this blue flaming orb float next to me, slowly. It then floated off the ground and swerved to the left and to the right of me, then straight down the hallway. I decided to follow this blue flaming orb. The creepy thing about this blue orb was that when I followed it, it entered my bedroom. When it was inside of my room, I watched it go underneath my old dresser that was in the corner. Under my dresser was a gap, about the size of my hand. That's where the blue flaming orb had floated to. I was curious, so I started to put my hand underneath my dresser. As I was reaching underneath the dresser, something inside of me told me, "Stop reaching underneath the dresser and run." I went with my gut feeling and ran back to my parents' room and shut the door. Later, as I was laying there, I was wondering if I should tell my parents what had happened. My mom always gave me a hard time for seeing things like this. My dad was usually supportive, but I didn't want to bother him. I never saw that blue flaming orb again, but I would sometimes hear whispers or lights would be turned on without anyone turning them on. Things would also fall or get moved, and when I would ask anyone if they moved an object in the house, everyone swore that they didn't do it. I would usually just cuss at it or yell, "I'm not scared of you," and it would stop. It stopped after a few years. The house is now quiet. No weirdness. I think it just got bored with me. Scary story number 3, The Hunted. When I was a kid, let's just say around 10 years old, me and my cousins liked to build hiding spots down the hill from where I lived. We started making new bases in the sugarcane near the swamp area. It was always best to do this around wintertime because we didn't have to worry about any type of bugs. The muddy water would be frozen and easy to walk on. There was no snow, but it was still cold. As we got pretty good at building forts, we started to make bases further out, past the swampy area, past the forest of twisted cottonwood trees, the Russian olives, even past the barbed wired fence, and to a vast open area called The plains. Now, the plains, if you can imagine, it's vast with a stretch of golden yellow grass, like the kind you'd expect lions in Africa to hide in. They were very tall grass, wild and untouched. Within the yellow grass were the yellow sugarcane fields. This was about a football field's length until you hit a tree line. Past that was the San Juan River, and across that river was more forest, then desert and hills. Anyways, I wanted to make a base in that field. I thought it would be the perfect spot to hide from my cousins, who had recently developed a game they called The Hunted. To play this game, you would need a BB gun. It was just the pump action kind. We surprisingly never got badly hurt. To prevent getting injured, all we wore were jackets, beanies, and something to cover up our faces. Even with all of this, we still got hurt. And let me tell you what, when you have all male cousins, sometimes they can be quite mean and rough. So if my cousins caught you, you would get tied up, tortured, or if you were lucky enough, just humiliated. And I'm pretty sure that I was on top of their list to get picked on. So I figured I'd get my base ready early enough to make the perfect hiding spot to survive this game. I went out alone, and all day I was bending sugarcane straws, making a few tunnels with a wide dome where I could lie in and hide. It was great and it was comfortable. I could lie in it and not make a sound. I was able to see outside of the straw fort, and the inside was nice and dark. If I took a peek outside of my fort, you would never know I was there. I had to hide the top of my base, which I did. Being in my thick yellow jacket, working on it made me tired. I played in my base just to relax. Then after a while I sort of fell asleep. A few moments later, I was suddenly woken up to the sound of grass being crushed and being stomped on. After hearing that, I was quiet. I looked around, peeking outside of my fort to see what was going on. As I looked out, I noticed that it was evening now. Shoot, I should get going now, I thought. From inside of my base, I saw a man. He was wearing a lot of black. He had on a long coat with a hat. He also had long black hair. However, I couldn't see his face. His back was faced towards me. As I watched him, he just stood there in the middle of the yellow field and was looking up towards the sky. He looked up for maybe 5 minutes. Who is this guy? Is he waiting for me? Had he been watching me this whole time? I thought. I was so terrified because I didn't recognize him at all. He just stood there, looking at the sky. All that was running through my mind was that it was going to be dark soon. I'm alone and I didn't tell anybody that I was going to be down here. I wanted to cry, but instead, I held back tears and I just quietly watched him, waiting for my chance to escape. I knew he had to leave at some point. Suddenly, the man squatted down, not taking his head away from the sky. What the heck is he doing? Did he hear me? I thought. Then, just like that, he quickly jumped high into the air. I watched and I couldn't believe my eyes. He went up into the sky until he was just a black speck. I thought I was going nuts. I saw the guy free falling back down. Then suddenly, huge bat wings came out from his back. He started to fly in circles, and then flew across the river, and then he was gone. I freaked out when I witnessed all of this. I crawled out of my base. I knew I had to stay low to the ground, and needed to head towards the tree line before that bird thing thought I was prey. I rushed towards the forest and crawled on my belly, through the branches and through the thorns. I got dirt and mud all over me. I crawled and I crawled, afraid that it would come after me. I couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Soon, I made it up on the hill on my neighbor's side and ran home. I didn't tell my dad because I knew he would just end up getting mad at me for going down there, especially alone. I have never heard or seen anything like this before in my life. But I remember, many years later, when I was a teenager, my cousin showed me a scary movie called Jeepers Creepers, and it was pretty similar to what I had seen that day. Maybe the guy who wrote the movie had seen something like this, like I had seen many years ago. Maybe I'm not the only one who has seen this guy. If you're wondering if we still played The Hunted, we did. Unfortunately, I got tortured and tied up. Hey guys, I hope you did enjoy these scary stories from Deion Hayz. Deion sent me more of his scary stories, and there's a lot to get to. With that being said, I'll be releasing more of his scary stories and sharing them with you guys, so do keep an eye out for Deion's future scary stories that I'll be sharing with you all. And if you guys have your own scary stories, you can go ahead and share them with me, and I'll leave my email linked in the description below. So that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope I earned you guys a subscription. Have a good day, and panic with this coyote. Peace.